Holiday spectacular.
Holiday. I don't know the words to that
I don't
song.
know what you're trying to do, so I cannot help you.
It's a Madonna song.
Oh,
I'm not that much older than you.
I don't. Here's the thing. I don't listen to much Madonna.
Oh.
Madonna, Beyonce. I'm really a bad gay man, but I'm a theater queer, so it it evens out.
I was like, is it insensitive for me to be like, but you're a gay boy?
No, it's in the bylaws.
I was like, I'm pretty sure you have to listen to Madonna. I mean, if I get keys to the Subaru, then you get a Madonna CD. That's how that works.
I listened to Madonna in the Evita movie soundtrack.
That's legit. I feel like you fulfilled your quota. Like, you did
Okay.
your required reading. It's okay. And I read my Judith Butler, so it's fine.
We're good. We don't need an audit here from what was it? I saw a TikTok earlier where someone referred to the LGBT community as the alphabet mafia.
Yeah.
And I thought that was hilarious.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, the alphabet mafia is not coming for us and our cards that we definitely had to fill out applications for.
And we just renewed. We are all set.
Yep. Did you pay your dues yet? Do they take Venmo?
They take Venmo. No, they're outdated. They're still asking for money orders or checks.
Yeah. Oh my God. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Fic List.
Welcome back. Have you paid your dues?
To the alphabet mafia, they are required by year's end. Anyway.
Anywhomst. Happy holidays, Aaron.
Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
Aaron, I don't know if that's in the public
Happy
domain.
holidays.
I don't know that we can.
Happy holidays.
Aaron, please.
And the merry
Oh
bells
gosh.
keep singing. Happy holidays to you.
It's the constant crescendo and decrescendo for me.
Yes, it's the inability to monitor my sound output.
I love that.
Yeah. No, anyway, yay, it's the holidays. Woo! Happy holidays. There's lots of them right now.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's going to be lots of them around when this episode goes to air, too. We're not recording as far out as we did last year.
Hopefully it will still be cold when you listen to this.
Yeah. Maybe it will be within the same, 6-month span. But yeah, this is our holiday spectacular 2020. I think it should just be subtitled, or we kick 2020 out and we don't talk about 2021 because we don't want to jinx it.
That's going to be a little long, but you know what? I love having a predetermined title. I don't have to think through other options, so we're taking it.
Yeah, I don't think that should be the real title, but that is the ethos I'm walking into this with, friends.
Oh, fully. Absolutely fully, yeah. Our group calendar in the kitchen where we mark down who has rehearsal or who's doing what, I put 2020, I don't know her, on December 31st, and then I put 2021, save us please, on January 1st.
No. There's a post going around and it's real where it was like, for New Year's Eve, we don't post shit. We don't talk about 2021. We don't look it in the eye. Maybe if we just lay down and play dead, it will leave us alone.
I did see that.
No one fucking ruin this for us, okay? We gotta slide under the radar and we gotta not say shit, all right? We have no expectations. None. The bar is on the ground. That's how this works.
That's fine. I like that.
Yep.
But also just because I would like to not have to think about what do I want to say about the end of the year? New year, new me.
Here's what I have to say about 2020. Fuck 2020.
It was awful.
It was bad. There was so much bad shit that happened. And that's not a joke. I'm saying this with a somewhat laugh in my voice, but actually it was horrific. And good riddance, and I hope we don't ever live through something like that again.
Fingers crossed.
Happy holidays. Goodbye.
Oh, yep, that's it. If you guys enjoyed the episode, please make sure to like and subscribe.
That's our whole holiday spectacular.
It's
Bye,
us
friends.
just shitting on 2021. On 2020. Oh my
Yeah.
God, 2020.
Yeah.
Oh no.
2020? What if it hurt you?
Oh God.
Yeah. Anyway.
So what makes this episode a holiday spectacular, Aaron? What's special about this episode?
So we decided to regress. That's what's special about it. So we also decided that we wanted to be done with this season. So, out of the goodness, quote unquote, of our hearts, and because we wanted to be done, and because it seemed like a good idea when we planned this 3 weeks ago, we decided that we're going to go back for a special one night only performance of our previous setup of 4 fics to talk about.
Wow.
2 single tag ones and 2 AUs all in one episode. You don't get to make the joke that you make all the time.
What joke do I make?
Oh, and that's our last fic. And then I jump in and I'm like, why do you do that?
Oh.
Yeah. Or like the whole like jokey thing about how like, oh, I guess that we, aren't we going to jump into an AU? And it's like, no.
I think that our listeners are going to be disappointed that the bit no longer applies. But you know what? We'll be back next year, stronger than ever.
We will. I promise you there will be equally unfunny bits in 2021 that we beat into the ground.
That is the Fic List guarantee.
Anyway,
back to our spectacular.
This episode is going to be great. This episode is going to be spectacular. God fucking damn it!
I am very comfortable with the energy we're creating in the studio today.
I know. It's very. I just out of like to again pull the curtain a little bit. It is very late on a Thursday. We never record on a weeknight, and we never record after work, and we never record this late at night. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. We are in for a treat.
Oh yeah,
all around.
Yep. Y'all are. It's gonna get weird. I promise.
So, do we want to tell people what our tags are up front, or should we surprise them with the AU at the end?
I kind of love the idea of surprising people with the AU at the end.
All right.
We didn't used to do it that way, but it sounds kind of fun.
We regress and we improve a little on it.
Yeah, we revisit and revise our decisions from previous years.
It's the remastered version.
Yep, it's the update.
So what's our first tag then, Erin?
Our first tag, apropos for the season and also for my life here in my family home in Boston, where I'm going to be for a couple weeks, is snowed in.
Ooh.
Ooh, indeed. What do you... Go ahead.
No, after you, please.
No, after you.
Oh my gosh, no, please.
Oh my god, no.
It would be the second time I've cut you off, Erin. Please don't let me do that to you.
I know. See? Bits. I was going to ask, do you read snowed in AUs? Do you like them? What do you like about them? Please tell me your thoughts and feelings.
I don't know that I've never seek a particular, nope. There, wow. There it is, folks.
Here it is. It's been 3 minutes. And we're not even into the fics
man,
yet.
let me open the vodka. I'm kidding. I've never sought out this tag on my own before. I've stumbled upon it, but what I really enjoy is, to me, this does really well with enemies to lovers situations, because I love the tension of oh, I hate you, but we're stuck here, and the tension rises and it gets steamy, and I love it.
I agree. I also love mutual pining and snowed in.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
2 people who are like, I can't say anything because she obviously doesn't like me, or I can't say anything because they obviously they have this dark past and I don't want to pressure them into anything, or whatever it is, and both of them are clearly, or all of them if it's polyship, if everybody involved is no, I can't say anything, but I'm so into this person, and then they get snowed in, and it's just bitch, we're gonna talk.
there ain't nothing left for us to do but to talk.
What are we gonna do? Especially if the power goes out and it's candlelight. Oh
yes. Chef's kiss.
Yes, so good. Yeah, I totally agree. I also this is not good.
You also?
I mean, I also don't really seek out Snowden fics, but it's definitely something that I read this time of year, and it comes up usually, it just starts to be a thing that populates the top of your AO3 tags at a certain point in the season. So I read them and I enjoy them immensely, and I agree that I think they're really fun, and I think enemies to lovers is always fun. It's a good avenue for basically forced conversations and forced sort of reckonings with things. Which can be really fun, and they also it's fun to read about, less fun to experience. So it's again one of those things where you're ooh, this is very intriguing, but would not want to have happen in real life. So there's that element of sort of fantasy involved in it that's kind of fun.
Well, see, to me, because I come from the land of South Texas, where I didn't see snow ever, I love the idea of being like snowed in somewhere. I'm like, ooh, how exciting, you know?
I think when you grow up with it and it really fucks up your life, you're just like, no, this sucks. Because, well, I also think there's a difference between like, ooh, the weather outside is frightful, and like, oh, we're fucking stuck. You feel me?
That was the best. That is the best sound bit. Please use that as our ad for this one.
I will. But like, do you get what I mean though? Like there's a difference between like, oh, it's snowing outside, I've got some hot cocoa, this is great, but like I'm not in danger.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the time when there was so much snow outside of my house when I was a kid that the power went out for a week, and our like we literally were like huddling in our basement next to our fireplace.
Oh my God.
Because it was cold and it was January and our power was out. Like that sucked. Like no, that was not fun.
Yeah, I like my fantasy better than your reality.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's a great fantasy. I don't want to experience it. I've done that. It was not bueno. It was bad. Anyway, so who wants to start with Snowed In?
I can start by talking about the one you sent me.
That sounds great. Because do I remember it? I kind of remember it.
Off to a great start.
Stellar. I mean, on brand, though. Right?
True. This has nothing to do with the time of year or where we are mentally.
Nope, that's just who I am as a person. I have no excuse.
So Aaron sent me a lovely little fic titled Passion Fruit, Mango, and Chocolate Cake. It is an orphan account, sad face, on an archive of our own. It is a Star Wars. It is a Star Wars sequel trilogy fic with Poe and Finn. No Ray. I noticed that. I read the tags now.
So proud.
After being told off about it. Now I read. I see it.
Yep. Even though we led you astray that one time.
That's true. Right
shameless
after.
tags that were just wrong.
Oh man, good times. So this is Poe and Finn, and the summary reads: Finn braves the oncoming snowstorm to help Poe bake his grandfather's Christmas cake. And that is short, sweet, and to the point. Mm-hmm. Much like this fic, I would say.
Yep.
So in the interest of time, I'm just going to condense. So like the summary says, Finn is driving and making his way over to Poe's house because Poe lives in he's remodeled a farmhouse like somewhere off in the outskirts of town, and it is snowing. And the whole time Finn is driving, he's like, the snow's getting bad. I should have canceled. But now he's going to tell me I have to spend the night because it's going to get bad. And he's like, I don't know how to feel about that. Yeah, oh no, what do I do? That's going to be weird because I have a crush on him. Also, they're teachers, and that's how they meet. Like, up to now, they have teacher crushes on each other because all they've had interaction wise is like at school and between like classes and at the teacher's lounge. So it's like very like, and I feel like everyone has had that moment where you want to keep talking to someone, but you both literally cannot keep talking because you both have like jobs to do.
Yep.
Everyone has had a work crush at some point.
Yep.
And that is what's happening here. Poe is having like the inverse of that thought process at home, where he is looking at the window and being like, damn, I should have canceled so he doesn't come out. Now he's going to have to stay the night. I can make dinner for him and it's going to be so sweet. But oh no, does he like me the way I like him? Or are we just friends? Finn gets here. Okay, the one thing I would like to address. So this has the trope, or this has the device in which BB-8 is a dog.
Yep.
Which we love.
Yeah.
I think it's a border collie though. It's not a Shiba. Which I think was
usually. Excuse me. BB-8 is clearly a corgi.
Corgi. Thank you.
No, BB-8. No. Sorry, I led you astray. BB-8 in this fic is a border collie.
Yes.
But this fic is incorrect.
Yes, I just couldn't remember what the correct one was because you have told me before. Like it's
corgi.
It's fanon that BB-8 would be a corgi. Great.
Of course.
So it's a border collie in this one, and I was like, that's incorrect. I couldn't remember the correct one, but that's not right. And then
you're like, I just know that Aaron will tell me that this is wrong.
But also because it's an alternate universe, it is no Star Wars related thing. They're literally teachers. I was like, BB-8's a strange name for a dog. BB-8, sit, BB-8.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Can we, as a fanon like thing, can we also establish that whenever it's like an alternate universe type thing where BB-8 is a dog, can we give it like a nickname or like a dog name?
If I remember correctly, I read a fic once where like the author explained it in a headcanon-y kind of way that was like really clever, where basically they were like, yeah, like this is my dog that I've had for a while, but like my little nephew like named it, like her name was BB, and there was like a whole thing.
Oh, okay.
And it like was a cute part of the story, which was really clever. So like, yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think it is something that like you can turn into an interesting thing, as opposed to just being like, why would you name your dog that if Star Wars isn't a thing?
It's just so strange when you're like, that is a part number, sir. That is not a dog.
That's a unit number?
Yeah. It's like when people...
You have a border collie?
This is like the inverse of when people get angry when other people name their pets like Susan. Like human names.
Oh my god, but I cannot tell you how much I love naming animals like very hyper normal white people names.
Which checks out with your lovely cat.
I didn't technically name that cat.
Oh, really?
I just kept it. Yeah. So my cat's name... Well, I kept her first name. I added the rest of them. So my cat, her full name is Geraldine Delilah Ferraro. After the former congresswoman who served under President Bill Clinton. But her name was Geraldine when I adopted her. I just thought I thought of Ferraro, and then that was it. Like I was like, I can't change this now.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I just assumed you gave it that name because it fits.
Yeah, I mean it does. It's
with
a
everything
great name.
I know about you.
Yeah, totally. Because I'm a grandma, and it's a grandma name.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But no. She just came to me like that. It was fate.
I love that story. Oh, that makes it sweeter. But needless to say, that's not what happened here.
Nope.
The border collie's named BB-8, and we are not happy about it.
We don't know why.
We don't know why. So Finn gets in, and then Finn apparently knows how to bake because he worked a summer at like a bakery, and he it was an apprentice under like the head baker or whatnot. So he's trying to help Poe recreate his grandfather's like cake recipe from when he was a child, and his grandfather has passed away now, and Poe's really trying to make sure that he is able to make it on his own by Christmas time, which it's approaching, obviously, because it's snowing. Mm-hmm. Although I guess it could be snowing after Christmas, but details.
Irregardless.
He's
Italian. Anyway.
So they have a lovely montage of like basically pining over each other and staring at like, wow, Finn like really knows his way around the kitchen, and like Finn being like, wow, Poe really like is really cute how he focuses on the recipe and like how he puts all his like attention to the things, and it's very cute. And there's a thing too where Finn like stands right behind Poe to like guide his hands a la Ghost just in case he's about to fuck something up, which I was like, okay, space would be nice, but sure.
You're like, this is not my fantasy, but okay.
Yeah, okay, I understand. They finish making the cake, and it's just setting in the fridge now. And then now they both look out the window, and lo and behold, it has started to snow like too heavily for Finn to be able to get out. So he's gonna spend the night, and Poe now is gonna like make dinner. He's like, "Get out of my kitchen! You're now a guest. You can't help me with dinner." So Finn goes to the living room and plays with BB-8 for a bit, the border collie, in case you forgot.
Yep. Which is 100% what I would do in Finn's situation. I'd be like, all right, bye, and then go hang out with the dog.
Yeah, it is. Then they have dinner, and it's lovely, and it's really cute. And the whole time, they're just both thinking, like, does he like me? He keeps staring at me. He like blushes. I'm not sure. They wash dishes together, which, domestic bliss. I love a moment of we're doing the chores together. It's always washing the dishes, because really, it's like the most, like, it already is just like, it lends itself to being a two-person job. Yeah. I don't know that it would work well with like if you're mopping and sweeping. But anyway.
Yeah, it's like, get out of my way.
Yeah, exactly. Vroom, vroom, here comes the vacuum.
I don't know why I found that so funny, but I did.
We're tired. We're punchy.
20 minutes
and so they have finished putting away the plates, and now they have this like stare off moment where like, will they, won't they, will they, won't they? And Poe like starts touching Finn's arm, and it just slowly travels up to it like his jaw, and that apparently is like the universal sign for kiss me, you fool. And so they start kissing.
Woohoo!
And the fic ends with, we cut to black, and we we fade in on the couple waking up the next morning and it's snowy and it's bright and they're naked and they're in bed and like they're cuddling and it's cute and it's nice.
Wow.
And that is the fic.
That was the fastest summary you have ever done. That was like speed run.
Yeah, I was like,
that was Sonic the Hedgehog of summaries.
Gotta go fast.
Gotta go
faster, faster.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I thought this was enjoyable. This, other than the BB-8 bit, which I like, I like the Star Wars series fine. Like, I wouldn't say that I'm like a Star Wars fanboy, but I was more angry about that BB-8 thing than I think I had a right to be.
I think we've earned a little bit of right to be unreasonably nitpicky about things.
That's true.
You know, 2 seasons into this, I think we can just lay claim to that and it's fine.
Agreed. My only kind of critique about this was, for the majority of it, I felt like the personalities were not what I have kind of come to be accustomed to, or maybe it's just because of the nature of the fic. Like, it's meant to be short and sweet and like a warm cup of hot cocoa. So there's not like angst. There's no like character development to really speak of.
Did you just say you were looking for angst in a fan fiction? Who are you?
I'm not saying I was looking for
Where
it.
Is Alan? You are not Alan.
I am just saying that, like, sometimes, like, a slightly higher stakes, like, brings out some, like, other aspects of a character. And this fic did not have that for me. It felt like they were a little too one note, very pining, and, like, that was their personality. And I also thought that this is one of those fics that you mentioned at times where I think you can literally just unplug these characters and then plug in different characters.
Yep.
Which is not bad. Again, like, it makes sense. I think this time of year and this tag lends itself well to, like, be universal to other things. But I would have enjoyed a little more like customization. It was almost there, just a little more personality that I've come to know, or like a little more personality traits would have been nice.
Yeah, and a little bit more specificity.
Yes, that's a good word. Thank you. But overall, a lovely time. I read it in bed, and I was cozy, and I was like, that's warm. I like that.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think I've said this a lot about fics this season, and that maybe isn't a good thing, but this is one of those ones where I was like, this'll do. And it is very emblematic of the trope for me, where it's very much, I mean, exactly what we were talking about. A lot of pining. Yeah. A lot of like, oh, now we're stuck and we have like, is it? Will we, won't we? Blah, blah, blah. Like, it's that. But that's not specific to any character or any fandom. It's just kind of like it's a trope that you can apply to you can just kind of drag and drop whoever you want in there to make kissy kiss. And it's great. So yeah, I need you to know that you came very close to a 200,000 word total angst fest of a fic.
For Snowed In,
which is the same one I almost sent you for Meet the Family. I'm gonna send it to you at some point because it's great, but I look
forward to it.
Yeah, I knew I couldn't send you Magician's fic for 2 in one episode again, because that's pushing it even for me. So I did not send that to you, and also I was like, he doesn't want to read 200,000 words of angst right now. Like, I'm not going to do that to him.
You know what the trick should be is you should give it to me at the start of a season and not at the end when we're just like running on fumes.
Yeah, that's right. But it's funny because it's the same one that I posted about sassafrassing you with on Twitter. And so anyone who saw that tweet or like is in the Magician's fandom and reads Magician's fic knows exactly what fic I'm talking about. And they're just waiting for me to send it to you now. You will read it eventually.
Oh,
it's awesome. But like it just, yeah.
I believe you. Evelyn
I couldn't do that to you.
Evelyn was very, very ecstatic at knowing the fic and was very proud of the fact that they were the one who submitted it.
Yeah, 100%. Hi, Evelyn. By the way.
Greetings.
Greetings. Salutations. Anyway, what do you rate? No, what do you rate it? What is wrong with you?
I have to rate it.
We've been doing this for 2 seasons, Errol.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Let's see. That is a 3. A solid 3.
I will take that. Frankly, that's higher than I thought you were going to go. But again, you're nicer than I am, so.
I'm nicer than you.
Just because I said it doesn't mean you had to agree.
All
Great
you
big
need to
butt.
do is look at the averages.
True. I have not been tracking our averages. At some point, I think it'd be funny to track them just to see how badly, how much of a jerk I am, just in quantifiable like data. But yeah, at some point, eventually.
At some point. Yeah, our season 5 finale.
Yep, I agree. I am going to talk about the one that you sent me.
Yes.
And I am going to attempt to be as concise as you just were.
I believe in you.
But I'm bad at these things.
I will only gently remind you we still have 2 more fics to talk about past this.
True. All right. So, the fic Alan sent me for Snowden is called Getting Into the Christmas Spirits by Captured by Noodles and Kizu Katana. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did. Good job.
Wow. That's the last one I'm going to say correctly. I guarantee it. I will let you guess what fandom it is, friends, based on that. It is Naruto again. Woohoo!
Yes! Woo!
So everyone, take a shot every time I fuck up Sasuke's name. We
will be dead,
asleep in about 3 minutes. So yeah, as always, this is Sasuke and Naruto. In this particular case, this is a AU, presumably, where they are just sort of like humans. They are not in some kind of weird shogun situation that I don't understand because I don't watch the anime.
Yep.
It is set around the holiday times, and one of my favorite tags of this particular fic is shitty holiday jobs, which, if anybody has ever worked retail or like service industry work around the holidays, you will feel that to your core. Because accurate. I never worked retail around the holidays, but I did used to work for a Chinese food restaurant, and if anybody has ever done that around the holidays, ooh, Godspeed. Oof. So the summary of this fic. Naruto and Sasuke are both working shitty jobs over the holidays, but a prank, a snowstorm, and a bottle of tequila make things a whole lot better. And then there's this author note. The author note says, and I quote, "Warning, hard yaoi, parentheses, boy, ex-boy, rimming in AO3, and why, exclamation point, gal versions, not appropriate for young readers 18 plus. Disclaimer, it wouldn't be fanfiction if we owned Naruto, now would it? And I wouldn't still be working my day job if I made any money writing this, that's for damn sure." Author's note, Noodles and I both wanted to write something for the holidays, blah, 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 blah. So we combined them, and this is where we landed. Hope you enjoy. I guess it is more eggnog than lemonade, but there is plenty of lemon in it. Naru Sasu. And I wrote a note to myself, which was, I feel like 2008 just came and smacked me upside the head with a 2x4 in this author's note, even though it was written in 2014.
Incredible.
There was so much... Like, that's such a fandom. When we talk about fandom vernacular and, like, fandom words, this has so many of them in there. Yeah. And I was like, wow, okay, cool. Like, we do speak our own language, which is pretty funny. With the disclaimer of the, like, I don't own this and, like, I don't make any money off of this, which is, like, such a holdover from the, like, the Crackdown days when they would, like, sue people for copyright infringement and, like, talking about lemons and, like, and I was like, oh my god, it was so funny. So anyway, I just enjoyed that, and I felt like, as a fandom old lady, that I needed to point out how delightful that was to me.
It's good.
So this is a one-shot. It is basically what it says in the summary. Naruto is a singing Santagram delivery boy. And boy, does his life suck. He basically is like, everything is terrible. People keep punching me because, fun fact, when people send a Santagram, they just send mean messages to each other. And then I'm the one who has to, like, do it. And, so then I get, punched. And I was like, oh, that's a bummer. And he gets one delivery on sort of like a super like snowy night, and it's his last thing of the day, and it's at this weird store, and he shows up, and it's like the thing says go to like the back entrance, you'll be let in. And he's like, this is fucking weird, I don't like this at all. And he's like, all right, cool, I guess I'm just gonna go like deal with this and then go home and just be miserable. Cut to Sasuke, who is inside of the store where Naruto is standing outside in the snow. And it turns out that Sasuke works at said store and has been working for many hours because it is a retail store. I think it's a Macy's is what it says.
Yes.
And it is his responsibility to restock all the inventory because there was the Christmas Eve, like, dumb people last minute rush and they have to be ready for the 26th and blah, blah, blah. So he's there and he gets a phone call and or something, like a text, and he answers and he's like, what's going on? And it's Naruto, and Naruto has called him because Naruto's outside in the snow in his Santa outfit, waiting to be let in to give him this stupid thing. And Sasuke's like, how'd you get this number? And Naruto's like, well, one of your coworkers, and Sasuke apparently has this coworker who's kind of a dick and keeps trying to like give his number out to people because apparently Sasuke is very attractive, which is kind of a point in this thing where he's like, yeah, I'm good looking. His whole internal narrative is like about how like attractive he is to people, but how he's like so over it. And I just wrote, is Sasuke like canonically super beautiful, or is this just like a fandom thing? Like, what is this? Because it's so weird to me.
It is definitely canon where he is he's rich and he's like mysterious, and all the girls are like falling over each other to like get his attention, but he doesn't want it because all he cares about is revenge.
Got it. Okay. Well, he's also real arrogant, and I was like, not about it. So
also canon.
Oh, okay. That's fine. So he basically, Naruto's like, would you just let me the fuck in the store because it's cold out here and I have to give you this stupid fucking singing Santagram bullshit and like, please. And Sasuke is like, okay, fine. So he lets him in and he's like convinced that he's actually a Santa stripper because his coworker like would do that. And Naruto's like, I'm not a fucking stripper. And Sasuke's, what? Oh, I wrote it down because I was so mad. Sasuke snorted, this is a quote, Sasuke snorted skeptically at the guy's comment about making money as a stripper, eyeing the portly figure in the costume. Sure, the blue eyes were nice, but that seemed to be about all he had going for him. And I just wrote, wow, bitchy, eat shit, Sasuke? I was like, rude? Like, I don't care if you think you're beautiful. Like, you're also clearly a little bitch. Like, what the fuck? So, and of course, Naruto's like looking at him. He's like, he's really attractive, an asshole, but an attractive. And I was like, no, stop it. He's
stop
a dick.
it.
So they're kind of having that moment of like, like whatever, which I think is a reference to canon being enemies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Sasuke's like, fine, whatever. I guess you can like do this stupid Santagram situation. And Naruto doesn't. He's like, just don't hit me, all right? And he sings this song, which is supposed to be sung to the tune of Frosty the Snowman. I will just read you the first verse of this because it's a full thing.
Yeah, it's a whole song.
It says, to my favorite ice queen. Sasuke the Ice Queen was a sexually frustrated soul with a corncob pipe stuck up his ass and 2 eyes made out of coal. And it gets worse. So that's the song he sings for him. Oh, the chorus is look at duck butt go, running from swarming hoes. Moving on. So that happens, and apparently the song comes with a bottle of Jose Cuervo, which is fine. And Sasuke kind of just is like, okay, this happened, I guess. And Naruto's like, seriously, just don't hit me. And Sasuke kind of has this moment of like, whatever, like, I don't really care. Like, somebody who put this much thought into this is clearly just like either jealous or like an asshole, so like not worth my time. And even if it was that stupid coworker, like not my type, fuck off, like whatever. So then he looks over and notices that Naruto is like actually cold and actually a little miserable and is like, okay, this is your last job of the day, right? And Naruto's like, yeah. And he's like, all right, do you want to do a shot with me? And Naruto's like, and then I should really get going because it's snowing, but then they do a shot. And then, Naruto decides that he's going to like take off the Santa suit because it's all wet and gross and cold from the snow. And he's like, whatever. And he's like all padded out and stuff because literally like they give him padding for the Santa suit, and it turns out he's super buff and Sasuke has to eat shit because he was wrong. But also like, oh my god, where is it? There's a line in here where I was like, is this how men talk to each other? I have questions. Yeah, so he's like he takes his shirt off, he's down to basically like an undershirt, and of course he's all like buff or whatever, and Sasuke's like, now I'm interested. And they get to talking because they're sitting there doing tequila shots, whatever. And Sasuke asks Naruto what he does, and Naruto's like, oh, I'm in college, I'm studying to become an English teacher. And Sasuke's like, I would have pegged you as more of the phys ed type. And Naruto lifts his shirt to show off his washboard abs, says the fic, and says, what, jealous? And all I could think to myself, I was like, is this how men talk to each other? If so, no wonder I don't understand them. I went to women's college. I don't know these things.
That was not my experience,
Okay.
But I will admit that I feel like I saw that happen in the periphery of like high school when it's like all this, you know, like the straight dumb boy, like dumb class clowns, and they're always just like, eh.
If you think for a second that I was in any dumb straight boy popular kid group long enough in proximity to experience this, then you have not met me as a person. Like, no, this is not a thing I experienced even in the periphery, but I believe that it happens, which is why I was like, what is happening? So anyway, basically it boils down to they're both like, with a little bit of tequila in me, I'm very into you. Basically. Then Sasuke gets a call from his brother, Itachi, and turns out the storm was supposed to be coming later, but now it's here, and it's a whiteout, and there's no way Naruto's leaving. And they're like, well, may as well get drunk. So they do more shots, and they hang out, and they get to talking or whatever, and they're both like, so what's shitty about your Christmas? And they get to bitching about their lives and whatever, and like how the jobs that they work are really like shitty. And then the lights start to flicker, and Naruto's like, so there's a generator, right? And Sasuke's like, I don't know, I've never been here when the power went out. And then the lights go out, of course. And there is a generator for like heat and stuff, but they can't watch TV like they were going to. Like there's no light. It's just kind of like dark or whatever. And they're sitting on this couch in Naruto's office, which is like where this whole exchange has been happening, which is probably good because I didn't say where this was happening before. This wasn't just happening in like aisle 4. Like, this was happening in Naruto's office. Or no, sorry, Sasuke's office. And they're on this couch or whatever. And they just start like nudging closer to each other as they're like drinking, and they share the bottle. And then they like start talking about like, oh, what are you going to do for, you know, what plans do you have for the holidays? And Sasuke's like, you know, the usual, go to a party, get wasted, maybe pick someone up. And Naruto's like, yeah, so me is what you're saying. Do me.
Hi, I'm somebody.
Hello, I'm here. And he says, what he actually says is, looks like you're about halfway there. And then he pulls this, like, he does this thing that happens in fanfiction, and I might be too asexual for it, but it's like he like pulls his hand towards his mouth and like sucks on his thumb, and I think that shit's so weird. I'm sure it's fine. You're making a face that the listeners at home can't see because this is an audio medium.
You know, it happens, and I will not answer. I will not be taking questions at this moment.
Really? Because I have an entire keynote address that I have so many questions. Cool.
Woo.
Good to know that that's a thing.
Especially when you're drunk. Come on.
I don't drink.
Oh, well, this is really out of your wheelhouse.
Yeah. I don't drink and I don't really have sex.
But you do better in the first fic.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's obviously very clear like what I go for in terms of this kind of stuff. So anyway, they have a lot of sex.
They do.
This begins like a 0 to 60 hookup situation, which is like, seems to be the situation with Naruto and Sasuke a lot of the time.
Yeah.
They go from 0 to 60 very quickly. And, you know, Naruto, I'm pretty sure, like, goes down on him. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
They have a whole, like...
They go at it.
Yeah, they have some sexy times on the couch. And then, well, there's like a moment where they're like, Naruto's like, oh, well... He's come twice now, but I don't have any lube. Okay, cool. Whatever. It just like moves on. But then later they're like actually fucking and I'm like, wait, what happened to the lube? No, that's bad. You need that. Bad things are going to happen.
Sometimes
So-
all you can do is take some spit and say a little prayer.
I have so many concerns, not the least of which is tearing. But okay.
That is valid and correct.
Because certain parts are self-lubricating and others are not.
Yep.
And that...
Correct.
Okay, and cool. Great. We're moving on. So anyway, they have a good amount of sex and they have a good time. They enjoy it, lube or no.
Yeah.
And it's great. And then it's over. And then they're like, okay. They come back to reality after laying together for a little while. They literally have like 15 minutes of just like laying there. And then they're like, all right, cool. Good times were had by all. Good night. And Naruto's like, kind of was like, it's a little hemmy and hawy, and it's like, is this a one-time thing? Like, what's going on? And Sasuke's like, you already have my phone number. And Naruto's like, yeah, but I wasn't sure if you want me to use it? Question mark. And Sasuke's like, just don't plan to work on New Year's Eve. LOL. So yeah, it happened. And then there's this little like epilogue situation. It's just like a little paragraph where the shitty coworker at the store is like sitting there, and Sasuke walks in, and he's not only whistling, but he's whistling a Christmas song. And Kiba, who's the coworker, is like, what the fuck? And Sasuke is like, haven't you been trying to get me into the Christmas spirit? And then he looks over and realizes that Kiba is sitting on the sofa that he just had all that banging sex on. And the last line is, oh, and I wouldn't sit there if I were you. The end.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays, team. So we picked very different fics for each other.
Absolutely. Aaron, I had it. I had the moment, Aaron. This was my time. I started looking, and I was looking through the Snowden tags. I was like, I don't know. And I like, there was a few fandoms I wanted to hit, but none of them had any Snowden, and I was like, bummer. So I was like, man, I guess I'll look for some Naruto, because I'm always in the mood for some Naruto. And I was reading other fics, and then I was like, wait, I've read one where Naruto was the singing Santa. And I was like, where is that? And I like looked through all my bookmarks, and of course this was before I made my AO3 account. I was like, so I didn't have it bookmarked, and I didn't have it saved in any of my spreadsheets. I was like, where is it? And I was like Googling, and I was like, where are you?
That's the worst. You have to Google stuff. No, the bottom of the barrel is when you start asking on Tumblr for help.
Yeah.
Someone will help you, but it's like, it's the worst.
True. But I had it. I had the moment where I was like, I know a fic that would work for this, and I found it.
I'm so proud of you.
And I was like, wow, we've made it. And the only reason I know this fic exists was because I read it last year when we were looking for like holiday fic.
Fun.
And it came together.
Wow. Well done, team.
Yeah.
It was fun. I mean, it's not super my jam, but like, it's well written. It's certainly enjoyable. I like the sarcastic, like, sassafras humor of it. Am I gonna come back to it? Probably not.
Yeah, that's fair.
This definitely like fits a niche though. Like, it serves a purpose.
Yeah, I get that.
So I can't knock it for not being my particular cup of tea in this case.
I respect that. Good for you.
Yep.
Very mature.
Thank you.
Now the question: what do you rate it?
I think it's like a solid 3.
Nice. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. That is very high for you.
I'm trying to be a little bit less bitchy, Alan.
The holiday magic's working, everyone.
And my heart has grown 3 sizes.
I just watched that movie yesterday, the Jim Carrey one.
No. Incorrect.
Delightful.
No. That's the bad version. We don't talk about that version.
No, I disagree. I love that version. I think it's hilarious. Good times were had by all. Did I cry? Yes, many times.
Y'all can't see the face I'm making, but no, it's bad.
I like it.
I just don't. I'm so enamored of the original cartoon that
it's fine.
Get out. We're not friends anymore.
Because I didn't grow up with it, and I'm willing to bet you did.
Oh, I absolutely did. But it's really, it's sad we can't be friends anymore.
Hey, it was a good run, everyone. Yeah. 2 seasons, longer than anyone expected.
Yeah, honestly. What a bummer. So sad.
That's so sad.
Bye forever.
Goodbye.
Bye. No, yeah. I mean, I think of the Christmas movies, I think that is probably, if not top of my list, definitely top 3, like the original.
Nice.
When I say movies, including all of the like shorts and the animated stuff and the claymation stuff. Yeah, because like it's not a full length, obviously. It's like 20 minutes long, but
right.
Anyway.
You know, speaking of holiday movies, you know which one I recently saw for the first time to my detriment?
What?
Love Actually.
I've never seen it.
Don't.
You're like, it has not aged well. I've heard it's not aged well is the problem.
Not only did it not age well, like, it's infuriating.
Oh.
It is so... Like, I was angry the whole time. I was complaining. I was screaming up a storm. I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit?
You're like, incorrect. Emma Thompson, you can do better. That's all I know is that Emma Thompson can do better.
She can. Honestly, maybe you should watch it. I think I would be interested to hear your thoughts. Just know you will be incredibly aggravated the entire time.
That sounds right for me. But I mean, I'm usually aggravated all the time, so it's fine.
Yeah. And I told a friend recently, I was like, oh, I haven't seen it. And she's like, oh... that breaks my heart. And I was like, well, I'll just watch it this year. And she was like, no, you don't understand. It didn't age well, so you're not going to love it. Yeah. You should have watched it like 10 years ago. And I was like, well, bummer.
Like, I was 3. What are you... Anyway. Yeah, no, that's one I haven't seen. And So what I did watch recently, which I hadn't seen in a long time, although I had seen it, my sort of like, circle back around Christmas film of the season has been The Muppet Christmas Carol.
I've never seen it.
It's Michael Caine. You have to see it.
Maybe I'll watch that this year.
It's where the gif of Kermit goes, "There's one more sleep till Christmas," parentheses, internal screaming comes from. One more sleep till Christmas. It's the best. It is actually a fantastic adaptation of that story.
I've heard that I think it's widely considered to be the best adaptation of that story.
Which is correct.
And I would believe that, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Muppets. I love the Muppets.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Please be sure to
How did I know?
like it.
How did I know?
Because you know me very well, and
I do.
And you know that I physically could not help myself from doing it.
I also set it up somewhat myself because I made a point to point out the bit.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have remembered.
And then you were like, well, I must.
Now I've got
This
to.
is how this works.
This was a challenge.
Yeah. You opened the door and I walked through. Like, I don't know what what do you want me to do here?
You set up the shot and I took it. I don't.
This is a very solid game of t-ball.
So,
but yeah, we have more fics to talk about.
Aaron, should we unwrap the gift and tell people what our AU was?
We should, because anyway, we should.
So for our final alternate universe of season 2 of the Fic List, we decided to be very grandiose with it and have chosen a Soulmate alternate universe.
Yep.
And I have a question for you, Aaron.
Yeah, Alan.
What is the Soulmate AU? What do you quantify as a Soulmate AU?
So a Soulmate AU, friends, for those who are not in the know, is an AU. Usually it's sort of like modern adjacent. Like it's real life, but it's like there's something a little bit different about it where in some way soulmates are an actual practical reality, right? So sometimes Fanon takes that to be like you have soulmates' words appear on your body at a certain age or when you're born or something like that. And like the first time your soulmate talks to you, those will be the words that they say. Sometimes it's like a timer thing, which is always kind of interesting, where somebody will have like a timer on their wrist or whatever that counts down to the time you meet your soulmate. Sometimes it's just like, it's usually either words or a timer in my experience, but there are other sort of like ways to do it. Sometimes it's like matching tattoos, which I think is kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. I like that a lot.
Sometimes it's actually like a tether, like you experience. I've read a couple, usually super angsty, where you like feel what your soulmate feels.
Oh.
Yeah, which is fascinating. Of course, in my case, it was all like womp. So like it was not. They weren't like,
They weren't feeling the happy things.
They weren't eating marshmallows. It wasn't good. So, yeah, there's a couple ways to do it. But basically, in this version of reality, soulmates are an actual, like, scientific, practical reality that influences the ways in which people, like, operate.
I see. I understand. Great.
As if you didn't understand that already.
Why don't I talk about what you sent me first?
Did you not know that?
And then we can talk about what I sent you.
How did you not know that?
We'll talk about that when we get to the fic I sent you. But for now...
Okay. Cool.
So, I think to no one's surprise or even mild shock...
Here we are.
Aaron has sent us a Quelliot fic for this tag, which... makes sense.
It does. I almost sent you a Quentin and Penny fic. I came this close.
I would have been
but it
so
wasn't
angry
as
at you.
I know. It wasn't as well written as this one. And it had other tags that I was actually more interested in leaving it for. And also, I couldn't do it. I was like, but it's Quelliot. It's Quelliot. I can't do Penton for a soulmate.
That is abhorrent. I hate that.
It's awful.
Penton.
I hate it. I love it as a hate ship. Like, it's a very fun hate ship.
Interesting. I would be very interested to read something. Here's the thing. If you had sent me that for Soulmates, I would have been pissed. Because the moment we decided this tag, I was like, I'm getting a Quelliot fic from her.
Correct.
And I moved on with my life.
Right. You just accepted it because you understand me as a person. Thank
Correct.
you. I love you. Yeah, no, for sure. But it's Anyway, I could talk about this forever, but I actually think Penny and Quentin are a fascinating dynamic to explore.
Yeah.
As, like, they hate each other and they don't stop hating each other. And it can get so fun.
Wow.
But only, like, really in that capacity. Like, I don't think they're actually good for each other.
Yeah, I from what I have read, I don't think so. But
yeah,
I would be interested to read a fic about it.
Yeah.
Probably not this tag, though.
Right. Anywho, so what you did send me is a Quelliot fic on our cover of our own. It is titled "To Be (parentheses unknown." This is written by Proof of Concept and Wild Dragon Flying. The summary reads: Margot sighs when she finally finds Elliot, stepping through the open balcony doors and announcing herself by saying, "You know, you're the High King, but that doesn't mean you have to be this dramatic all the time." Elliot scoffs, his hands tight on the railing. He turns to give her a smile. "It absolutely does." "Well, maybe because it's you," she concedes, stepping closer and laying her hand on Elliot's. "What's wrong?" she asks, quieter. "Nothing," Elliot says, a blatant lie. He sighs. "I don't know. I feel unsettled." And that is very much a summary. That is a bolt from the fic summary. Yep. We know how we feel about this. We could put it on a t-shirt and just point to it at this point. Just read the sign. We don't like extra summaries.
It's like that picture of the one professor who was so fed up with people asking them questions that were on the syllabus that he got a t-shirt. Then the next time someone asked a dumb question, he ripped open his like button down and it was just a teacher's t-shirt that said, "It's on the syllabus."
That is how I feel about this. It's an excerpt summary. Moving on.
Yep. Oh boy. Okay, so this is a long one.
It is.
This is 30,000. All right, here she goes. She's gonna try her best to to summarize this in a few points.
Godspeed.
So this starts off with exactly the excerpt summary, and okay, actually, before we start, Erin, I have a question / point to make.
Okay.
Proof of Concept and Wild Dragon Flying. I hope y'all are lawyering up because Disney might come for you. The whole soulmate calling thing was so reminiscent of Frozen 2.
This was written
Nope.
Before?
Nope.
Oh.
No, it was not.
Friends, I haven't seen Frozen 2. I don't know this.
Not in like any huge way. I'm mostly exaggerating, but
okay.
So the whole thing here is that it starts off with Margot asking Elliot what's wrong, and Elliot being like, I feel like something is off. And the whole thing that it feels off is he has started to feel like a pull, or like he has started to feel like he needs to be going somewhere. Like there's this energy around him that it just feels like he needs to go. And basically what it boils down to, everyone is telling him, because in this universe, oh my god, also it takes place in the Mosaic, right? In the fucking Mosaic timeline.
No, it takes place in Fillory.
Great.
So it presumes a world in which both of them are in Fillory, or everybody's in Fillory. Like they don't ever leave Fillory.
I see.
You were like, was it the Mosaic? And me and Evelyn and Mai were all like, no!
Listen, I read the first half of this fic and I was like, if I have to read one more fucking time about this goddamn Mosaic. And then I was like, and then at some point I was reading and I was like, I don't understand. Erin has explained it to me 4 times and I don't remember. I just don't know.
In this particular case, the setting is Fillory and Castle Whitespire, which is where Elliot is in the series in general, because he becomes High King of Fillory through a whole convoluted series of events that we don't have to get into right now. But basically just know that this is a wider Fillorian universe. Like it's a wider scope than just the Mosaic was.
Great.
Yep.
So he is High King.
He is High King.
And because he came from the Earth realm, our world, our realm, it has been explained to our High King, Elliot here, that soulmates are a thing here. And at a certain point, just whenever the time is right, apparently, whenever you reach maturity or some bullshit like that, you will start to feel a pull. And most people will go on like adventures or like expeditions to go and follow that pull to find their soulmates. And that is the thing. And so that's what everyone is telling Elliot is like, it means your soulmate is like, it's time to find your soulmate. And Elliot is like, hell no, fuck that. I need no soulmate. I don't need it. So some time passes, and it's starting to get worse, essentially. He feels a constant pull, and now has started to hear like a whistling, which if you have heard Into the Unknown, friends, from Frozen 2, there's that whole ah that is like off in the distance. And that is basically what I heard in my head every time he heard it, and I was like, Elliot is Elsa.
Oh my god. I mean, he might be.
I honestly?
Yeah, he kind of.
I believe it.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Hale?
Would you care to comment?
Yeah. Do you want to be Elsa?
I would watch that.
I actually would. It'd be great.
So Elliot became High King because he was able to use this knife that apparently tells you if you're High King if it makes you bleed, and it made him bleed, so he is High King.
It's so funny because it's pulled directly from the show, so hearing you like not understand it is so funny.
I'm sure
it's like, no, it's like a thing that happened. Like I watched it, like it made sense, but then you're just like, I don't know, there's a fucking knife. I don't know.
Exactly. They mentioned the knife, and I was like, okay, sure.
Yep.
I believe it.
I'm not gonna go in depth into it because it is overly complicated for what it is.
I believe you. But I was like, okay, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, I wish that worked here. I was like, where's a knife that I can just run my hand across? So he's High King, and he has chosen Margot as his High Queen. And apparently, I don't know whether this is canon to when he is in Fillory in the series / books, but there's typically four monarchs in Fillory, which is the High King, the High Queen, and then a secondary king and queen. So Fen is Margot's soulmate, and as such has been made a queen. So she is queen, and Margot is High Queen. And apparently there's some tension. This is coming into play later, so I'm gonna tell you now. There's some tension because High King is an Earthling, not a Fillorian. But other people are like, but we have a Fillorian High Queen and Queen, so like it evens itself out. And the whole theme of the fic is that Elliot has worked so hard to basically like shed his mortal life for like his roots, where he came from, and all his past, and relishes being where he is now, and he is deathly afraid of anything that is going to shake up that status quo that he has found for himself, to the point where he does not want a soulmate, because he's like, fuck it, no, because I'm not leaving. Like I have made it. I am High King, and I ain't going anywhere.
Right.
Basically, he may as well have been stomping his feet.
Yeah.
And we cut to some other little fucking village. Alan
minces no words.
I don't remember the name.
Tells it like it is.
This is another little village, and here we have Quentin, who has only been in Fillory for a month, but he lives here now, and he's trying to find his way, and he's working as a farmhand with Ariel's family.
He's new in town. I'm so sorry.
That was a whole other thing. I had to look up Ariel. I was like, I'm sure I know about her, and she popped up in the fucking Mosaic timeline.
Yeah, I was
like,
gonna say, I was like, do you know where Ariel comes from? The Mosaic.
I was like frustration. But anyway, so Ariel's there, and they're good friends, and Julia and Katie and Penny are all here. Penny is the only, I think, native Fillorian, and Katie and Julia are also Earthlings, and they were pulled into Fillory when Penny followed his like soulmate pull to Earth and basically said, "Hey, you're my soulmates. Get your ass in the metaphysical car. We're going to Fillory."
Get your asses in the metaphorical minivan. We're going.
Yeah. And Julia was like, "Can Quentin come?" And Penny was like, "Fuck it, I don't care." Yeah. So Quentin came too. And that's where we are. There's that triad, that throuple that is soulmates.
We love.
Sure. Sorry. I just
really
don't know
selling
them
me
well.
on it.
I just really don't know them. And I'm like, here's the thing is, like, I started this fic with a lot of frustration because I'm so used to, and I think I got so used to a certain cast of characters and in like certain scopes. Like I feel like a lot of the Magician's fic that you have sent me have been more narrow in scope, not counting Something Good, which, you know, we all know how I felt about that. A lot is the answer.
Something Good was also so much of an AU that like was grounded in a familiar reality.
Yeah.
That I think it's not quite the same as this.
Right. This was frustrating in that like I should know more than I did, and it was just it was driving me a little insane. But I'm fully cognizant that is just because I have not all of my knowledge comes secondhand from you or from fan fiction, so I understand.
I'm surprised you haven't found a YouTube compilation yet, frankly.
I can't put myself through it.
Yeah, you're not me.
There's something beautiful about how it lives in my head.
That's
you
fair.
know, like I love the fanon that I have come to know, and to see any part of it play out in real life, then it's like it shatters that a little bit. But anyway, yes, the throuple is Soulmates, and Ariel is really nice and has taken in Quentin, and Quentin feels like cool, and like he's like, I have friends and it's nice and it's good. Continue, Elliot's condition gets worse, and he's like, what is happening? Cut to Quentin and Ariel going to White Spire Market. It's market season because they sell apples and like pumpkins or bananas. I don't remember what fruit.
It's peaches. It's
Peaches.
peaches. Alan.
I'm sorry.
Alan.
It was a fruit.
Oh my god. The whole Magicians fandom just went, ugh. It's peaches.
I am sorry.
And plums. Anyway.
Peaches and
Continue.
plums. Yes, that's true.
Continue.
So they go to market day and they're selling their peaches and their plums.
Thank you.
And Elliot is in like a great mood all of a sudden. He's like, man, I feel great. I feel better than I felt in weeks, in months. Wow, new man. And Margot's like, fascinating.
That's sus. Keep going.
and basically, I don't know who or what, but Elliot eventually finds out that the reason he feels great is only happens every market day, like weekly. And he's like, fuck. So my soulmate comes to market day. And so he goes around like the stalls looking and sees Quentin and is like, that him. But because he's with Ariel and they're like, of course, it's that classic movie trope where like he looks at them right as they start laughing about a joke. And it's like very like familiar and like intimate. And Elliot feels like he's like, oh no, I'm like stepping on some toes. But Elliot also doesn't want a soulmate. So he's like, this is great. He's married. So like even more doomed, and walks away. And even worse, he's like, he's a farmer. Yeah, so Elliot has found out that his soulmate is a farmer, and that is crushing to him. And more importantly, that he thinks Quentin and Ariel are married, or in a relationship at least. And so he's, ready to just say, fuck it all. This goes on for another few weeks. Then at some point between those weeks, Ariel and Quentin try to like start something in that they kiss, and then Quentin doesn't really feel anything, and he's like, sorry, I would rather have a friend. And Ariel's like, no, it's okay, I understand. Like, I knew it was hopeless because you're not my soulmate. I don't feel that pull towards you, but I figured I'd try. And then they move on with their lives, and I thought, that's sweet. Not what happened in the show. No.
It's what happened in the real version of the show.
I need you to stop right there.
Just wrote.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It's
yes.
the fandom. Fandom is canon now. That's what we decided.
Yep, correct. So amongst these weeks, Margot and Fen go on a market day to the stand just to meet Quentin and like get some information, and they find out that Quentin is not married and he has no romantic relationship with Ariel, and they're like, interesting. Thank you. And they go back to Elliot and they're like, oh, Elliot.
I got some information for you.
And Elliot is like, fuck off. Stop meddling. I don't care. So there's a nice conversation with Penny and Quentin where Quentin asks, like, how did you know that, what does a soulmate pull feel like? And Penny is like, well, this is what it feels like. And Quentin is like, wow, I guess I gotta go into the unknown.
I dislike you so much. So much. Yep.
So Quentin has realized that he's starting to feel pull whenever he goes to White Spire, and he's like, oh, he must work in the kitchens or something, like he must be a servant, and that's why it feels like that when I'm there. So the last market day has come and gone. The frost has settled in. Quentin is no longer going to White Spire, and Elliot is feeling the adverse effects of that. We cut to the tavern back in the little podunk town. I don't know where it is. And Julia and Quentin are having a conversation wherein Julia reveals she's pregnant, and it's like, oh my god, congratulations. And Quentin is like, I think my soulmate's in White Spire, so I'm leaving for a bit just to go check that out. Big news happening all around. Everyone's happy. We're like, great.
Stellar.
As the weeks have gone by, Elliot is doing less than stellar, and he is like physically crippled. He cannot get out of bed because of how strong the pull is, and they make a point of saying that like trying to stamp this down only makes people like kind of go insane. Like it's seriously bad for your body and for like your psyche and your spirit. And Elliot was like, fuck that, I can do it, I'm High King. And
I'm
so
Elliot, I can do whatever I want. No.
Correct. And he is not in a good way. He cannot get out of bed. He can't focus on his kingly duties. And it's really all going to shit because Quentin hasn't been around anymore in his vicinity. So I forgot to mention that when Margot and Fen came to their plum and peach stand, they're like, you should come to Whitespire at any time. Like, come take a tour of the castle, because they were being sneaky. And Quentin has kind of been like, well, I'm going to take her up on that offer. And he goes into, he meets Todd, who is a fucking guard. And I'm like, poor Todd. And apparently there's some sort of, there's kind of some leniency here where if you tell them, oh, I am following the pull of my soulmate, they're like, oh, that's natural. Sure, come on in. Someone will escort you while you look around to find them. And as Todd is doing that, Margot's walking by and she's like, oh, hello. You're here to look for your soulmate? I got it. And then plucks him from Todd's grasp and, classically does not remember Todd's name. Classic Margot.
We stand.
We love. So here we cut into what I think I'm going to really just hit light speed for. Cut to Quentin finding out that Elliot, the High King, is his soulmate. Elliot magically feeling better, not realizing that Quentin is in the castle. Margot being like, hey, you fool. And inviting Quentin to dinner. And Elliot is like, what have you done? And so now Quentin is a guest of the Crown, and he has his the nicest guest quarters that they have, and he's staying there for an undetermined period of time just to kind of try to make this with Elliot work. And Elliot is not receptive to it, as we could all kind of tell. They do have some nice conversations toward the beginning where they kind of start to bridge a gap. And at some point, we find out about Quentin, which I think we all knew, but in this story, Quentin finds out, just how much he loves history, and he's reading all the books of Philorian history and old treaties and all of the political history about the kingdom, and he loves that shit. It's his jam. So he spends a lot of his time in the library. Elliot comes to find him at one point, and they're having a conversation, and it's really nice. And Elliot says something along the lines of, well, we're not going to be I don't know what you're expecting. There's not going to be any romance between us, but it doesn't mean we can't have fun. And Quentin is not happy and throws a glass of wine in his face, because of course they had wine. I don't remember why, but they did.
Because he's in a library and it's a fanfic. Moving on.
Anyway.
It's for the aesthetic.
Correct. And Elliot kind of realizes, oh shit, I fucked up.
Yeah.
And he apologizes to Quentin, which is very hard for him to do.
Yeah. Leading up to that particular fight too, Quentin had been trying really hard to get to know Elliot, and Elliot had been rebuffing him. So for him to just show up and be like, well, I'll fuck you, was kind of insulting.
Yes.
Yeah.
True. Thank you.
Yep. My other favorite thing about what happens then is that Elliot goes over to Margot and is like, I fucked up. And she's like, why are you covered in wine? It's like, Quentin threw it at me. And Margot's delighted by this and is like, Quentin? Little mousy Quentin threw wine at you? What did you do? Explain. And then Elliot explains, and Margot's like, yeah, you had that shit coming. Good for him.
Yeah, exactly. So good. So Elliot does apologize, and Quentin accepts the apology. And now there's equal energy being put forth. They are both trying to get to know the other, and it's really balanced and nice. And you can tell something really sweet at some point. They're talking because they're both from Earth. Quentin asks Elliot, oh, what do you miss the most from Earth? And Elliot says, oh, cigarettes. I would kill for a cigarette. And because you all might remember, Penny is a fucking taxi between realms, apparently, a traveler.
He's a taxi. Arjun Gupta, I'm so sorry. Do you want to be on this podcast? We love you too.
Please do. I would love to hear your take on Penny. Quentin essentially Uber eats some cigarettes from Penny, and Penny is like, fine, fuck it. Just the only time this is happening. And Quentin gives Elliot the cigarettes, and it's so nice. It's such a touching little thing. We don't condone smoking because it kills people. It's going to give you lung cancer. But you know what? In this case, it was a sweet gesture, and I loved it. Cut to, there's a ball. I don't know what for, but I don't remember what for.
The Yule
It's
ball.
A ball. It's a dance. It's a social type of thing. Is it a Yule ball?
No, I'm kidding. I'm just being a sassafras.
I hate you. And Margot, of course, made sure that Quentin is like dressed up to the nines and has like a really form-fitting but beautiful like suit. And so Quentin spends all evening kind of admiring how Elliot has ease, like talking to people and like being social. And Margot and Fenn are like, ask him to dance, ask him to dance, ask him to dance. And Quentin's saying, all right, I'll do it already. And so he goes and asks Elliot for a dance. And they dance, and it's romantic, and you're like, ah. And after that, Quentin goes to get like drinks for people, and as he's coming back, he gets assaulted by like a gossip, like grade A gossip, where once Elliot, Margot, and Fenn they're like, see who he's with, they're like, oh no. And so they go and like Elliot has to go and save him from the gossip. And it's revealed that Quentin was talking to the gossip and says, I didn't know what to say, but she asked me what where I'm from, what I do. And I was like, well, I work currently in a farm. And Elliot flips out. Mm-hmm. Elliot like shuts down and doesn't like want to see Quentin anymore. And he's like, I can't do it. And basically it all boils down to his past growing up on a farm. And he's very like the trauma that comes with that, and not being able to distinguish between like his past and his future, and he's terrified of going back to that essentially. Mm-hmm. And he's like, Quentin is gonna ask me to go to a farm, and I'm not gonna do that bullshit. Like, soulmate or not, I'm not leaving. Fuck that.
Yeah.
And I was so frustrated for like whatever, like this is like a fifth of the story, and I was so frustrated for all of it. I'm like, this hypocrite, this asshole. Sir, there's a very obvious solution, which Margot eventually says, you fucking idiot, there's an empty throne. Yeah. Like literally, hello.
We are currently seeking a king. You dummy.
And Elliot is like, oh yeah. So fucking, I was
the sharpest tool in the chandelier, all right?
I wanted to throttle that man. I was like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
So this conversation happens, like he opens up to Margot about all these feelings, and Margot snaps at him when she says, you have to do something. Quentin is packing. He's literally saying, I'm going. I'm like, I'll come back once a month just so that we don't go crazy and he can continue to be High King, but I'm not, like, I've put in the effort and I can tell that it's not going anywhere, so fuck it.
Yep.
And that's kind of what like is really touching to Elliot. He's like, he is willing to come back to like keep me sane. Like he's doing that out of his own free will just to be a good person, because he is a good person. And that kind of gets Elliot off his butt, and like, yeah. And so then they're together, kind of. They're like they're in like a courtship phase, and they're like, oh. And Elliot starts calling him Q, and it's like, that's when you know it's serious in a Quelia fic. You're like, yes, it's begun.
Yep.
And at some point, Ariel comes to visit Whitespire, and they meet at like a tavern in the town square. I don't know. While they're out, Quentin gets stopped by this fortune teller, psychic woman, old woman who has made appearances slightly throughout the fic. And she says, "You have to run. You have to go now." And Quentin is just like, "Okay," and he runs. And the line literally says, "But they weren't fast enough." And then it cuts to the next section, and I was like, "No, what happened?" So we cut to like guards coming into Elliot and being like, "Hey, so 3 buildings are on fire. Like a group of people who are unhappy that you are High King because you're not Felorian have decided to get to you by getting at your soulmate, because at this point it was knowledge because of the gossip from the Yule Ball that the High King had found his soulmate, and so they started blowing up places where the soulmate would be, and so Elliot starts freaking out. Ariel is like, they dragged him into like a place, into an alleyway, and started to beat him up. I managed to incapacitate one of them, and they have him in custody, and the other 2 ran. Elliot is not happy, but they have some healers who do good jobs, and Quentin is healed. He's no longer in critical condition, and eventually wakes up, makes a full recovery, and it's very lovely and sweet and nice. And then they have the whole fallout. They eventually find the 3 men who beat up Quentin, and who presumably are the head of the plan to like bomb the city center. And like, there were people that were hurt, but no one was killed. I believe there was no like casualties, which was nice. But still, they're like, Margot and Elliot are both off of their heads. They're like, we're gonna execute now. Quentin is very much of the camp. He's like, no, that's not the message you want to be sending out right now, because like, you have to show people that you hear their concerns and are willing to reform, and like are willing to move forward, and not like punish anyone who stands up like against you. And Fen is like, that's right, he's smart.
We keep that one.
Yes. And Elliot eventually is like, all right, I see why Quentin says what he says. But Margot, being Margot, is like, no, fuck it, we're gonna fuck him up. And Quentin is like, no, I don't think that's right. That's not what I'm voting for. And Margot has this great line where she's like, oh, did I miss your coronation? What makes you think you have a say in this?
Yep.
And I was like, ooh, Trudeau. I mean, it was his head that was bashed in, so I think he has a little bit of a say.
Yeah, a little bit. But also Margot being like, I might have said, hey, we have an open throne, but I didn't give you the fucking crown yet, so shush.
Yes, exactly. So basically it boils down to they sentence the men to community service and to rebuild the buildings that they bombed, and they put out Quentin puts out like a memo. He sends out a memo.
Like a little proclamation.
A proclamation, thank you. Explaining the situation and saying, I understand, but I am Felorian. I have been living as a farmer for X amount of time, and I'm really interested in learning more about your world and how I can help, how we can help bridge any inequalities that there may be. And basically people love that shit. And so he is an overnight sensation. And Elliot is a little shocked. He's like, wow, people love you. And Quentin's like, yeah, of course. And throughout the fic, we've been seeing really amazing, I love this, really amazing snippets of Quentin helping Elliot with all the stuff that Elliot hates doing, which is all the paperwork, all the treaties, all the proclamations. It's all the stuff that Quentin loves doing. It's his jam. He loves the history and stuff. And he's like, oh, I can pull things from before, like what was done before. And it's lovely. And so the fic ends with Elliot saying, I love you. Will you be the fourth monarch? Will you be the king? And Quentin be like, yes, sure. Is this also a marriage proposal? And Elliot getting down on one knee is like, yes.
Yeah.
The end.
Will you be Felorian's administrative coordinator king? Thank you. There is no 401k. I'm so sorry. where's
my Felorian High King boss? I'm ready.
Yeah, really.
And that is the fic, dear Lord in heaven. I tried to make that spick and span, but it was still messy.
It was a speed run, man. Holy shit. Basically, they were soulmates. There was drama, and then it was fine.
That's true.
End of story.
I really enjoyed myself. Well, I started off frustrated, but not because of the fic, but because of my own knowledge and my feelings of I should know more, but obviously I don't, et cetera, et cetera. And then I was frustrated in the middle when it was so clear to me that Elliot was being a jackass. He had his head up his ass to a point that I was like, come on, that is too obvious. I was like, I refuse to, but that is I could not suspend my disbelief that far to be like, oh, he never thought about making Quentin his monarch. He immediately defaulted to having to leave. I get it. And because I don't remember fully his trauma and his backstory, and I'm willing to believe that is a very rational or maybe irrational thought, but it's natural to have,
right? Or it's in character at the very least.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated at that, but other than that, by the end I was having a great time. I was like, is this Game of Thrones? Ooh.
You're like, ooh, danger.
Yes.
Into it.
And then the explosion happened. I was like, oh no.
You were like, angst.
Angst. What? There was something I expected to happen and it never happened. What was it? Man, I can't ask you that. I'll think about it as we talk about it. But I expected the fic to go a different way, and I don't remember what the direction I expected it to go instead of the explosion happening. But anyway, overall, I loved the fantasy. I was in for it. I had a great time. I did think that the soulmate bit was basically pulled out from Frozen 2, but I eventually gave in to the premise, and I was like, you know what, that's fine. I'm here for it.
I did not know that there was a Frozen 2 connection, so I just was like, this is so smart. Oh my god, this is the best thing. I'm so into this.
I just wonder, I wonder if it was a conscious thing or if they were just so inspired by it. Because also the title of this fic is To Be Unknown, and the song from Frozen is Into the Unknown. So it's how close, how much of a connection are we making?
Feels like a solid 85%.
But it was a good time. Other than the things I mentioned, I really enjoyed myself. I feel, and maybe this is just because, like we mentioned, this is a new setting for me. I felt like I thought that the characterizations were close, but not spot on. So like I thought that Margot was very nice, kind of the whole fic, and she had like snarky comments, but I'm like, snarky comments does not a Margot make. Like she has them, but like there was a, for lack of a better word, like a cruelty that that Margot like wears on like her sleeve that I don't think this Margot had. She was a little too nice. She was too much the best friend. Because kind of the interesting part to me whenever I read Elliot and Margot's relationship is like how they are both like cruel and cold to other people, but they are so like dependent on each other. And like I just felt like it was missing a little, but that's fine. And kind of similarly with the rest of the characters, or at least Quentin and Elliot, because I don't remember Fen and I haven't, and Julie I don't see often. And just like I thought that they were close but not. Oh, that's what it is. So I think I mention this every time I read a Quelliot fic because I am that sounds wrong. I am very interested in how mental health plays into things. I thought that we didn't touch on his mental health basically at all, other than having like mild anxiety around crowds, which I was like true and fair. But what I thought the wump was going to be toward the end was going to be like, because I feel like most Quelliot fics I read have a moment where Quentin falls into depression and has a depressive episode and just can't get out of bed, doesn't want to see anyone, and basically starts having suicidal ideation. Just it sounds really bad to say like I wanted that, but it's to me an aspect of the character that is really important and one that I really love reading about and seeing how it's handled in fandom. So to have kind of like a failed assassination plot was not as impactful as what I was expecting. But that's not really knocking anything against it. It's just that is my thoughts. I'm always really interested to read about that. But yeah, overall, really well done. Because it is a long one, friends, and I had a good time. I thought that it handled the soulmate trope really interestingly, and I liked it a lot. I would give this a 3.3 out of 5.
You sure you don't want to round up?
I do not, no.
That's incorrect. This is clearly a 4, but okay.
We can agree to disagree.
I just love this fic. And, like, I agree with everything you said. Like, everything you said makes sense. But, like, I'm sitting here being like, but I love this fic. It brings me so much joy. I love everything they write. It's so long. It's so enjoyable. The world building is so intricate. I love it.
It is. Yeah, the world building is insane in this. Like, yeah, it is a world. And I get it. Yeah. I can see how this fulfills a need for someone who probably reads a ton of Quelliot.
Who, me?
But because I don't read as much Quelliot, it doesn't fulfill all of my like needs. But I can admire it and recognize it for what it is. It's wonderful.
That's fair. I feel like the majority of the reasons that I sent this to you were the world building, which I got really into, and also the mechanism of the soulmate like togetherness thing in this particular fic, because I think in general, here's a moment where I admit a thing. I don't really like soulmate fics. Like, basically at all. It's like one of my least favorite AUs. And Caitlin really likes to make fun of me for that. But it's true. I find them very often, like, contrived. I don't like contrivances. That's the problem. It's the same problem with ABO and the same problem with a lot of other things. I don't like things that are like superimposed.
Right.
And like it just exists because I said so. I'm like, no. Like you have to make this, like you have to incorporate this somehow. And this felt very well incorporated into the fillery. Like it made sense that a magical land would have this magical soulmate thing and that this is how this would work. And it was well respected. Like there were little pieces of culture that shifted because of the existence of the soulmate thing, right?
Sure.
So there was a norm that like, yeah, you let somebody in if they're looking for their soulmate thing, but like we make sure to go with them. Like that was part of daily life that I thought was fascinating in a way that wasn't just like, and then we slapped a timer on them and then they met and it was fine. You know what I mean?
That does inform a lot about, yes, I can see why you love this fic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it. I really like Soulmate, which, I mean, to no one's surprise, I really like Soulmates AUs. To be honest, I don't think I've read many.
I've probably read more than you have just by dint of like
the
volume of fan fiction that I read. But yeah, it's like generally not my favorite. So when I read this, I had this in sort of my back pocket. This was one where I was like, yeah,
nice.
I love this one, and I knew I loved this one. And I went back through my tags and had a number of ones that I could have like thrown your way.
Sure.
But I liked the mechanism of this one so much, and I loved the world building, and I loved the detail work, and I loved the writing of it, and I love these authors. So I was like, yep, this is the one.
Great.
I guess I can't do that other angst fest for Snowed In. Here we go. So yeah, that's why I picked this one and why it's higher. It's a higher rank for me. But
yeah, that is fair, and I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good pick.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Great.
So should I jump into the fic that you sent me?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So, the fic you sent me is called As I See It Now by Bygone Boy, which for some reason I have a hard time saying. It is The Song of Achilles, Madeline Miller, the book, universe, fanfiction. It is 13 chapters. But it's only 20,000 words.
I was going to say, if you're about to bitch about the length of this, it's 10,000 words shorter than what you sent me.
I saw the chapters and I was like, fuck nuggets, because I did start reading this last night because my life is chaos right now. And then I looked at the word count and I was like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah, it's very like small snippet chapters.
Yeah, small snippet kind of thing. And I should preface this by, I've never read this book. And I have no idea how to pronounce this man's name.
This is very funny. So, some context.
Okay.
The Song of Achilles is my favorite book.
Okay.
I have read it once.
Okay.
In 2016. I haven't been able to reread it because of how emotionally crushing it was. I spent weeks after reading that book sobbing into my pillow because of the world that Madeline Miller built. If anyone is at all interested in Greek mythology and like male loving male stories, The Song of Achilles it's a spiritual journey. It is beautifully written. It is lyrical, and it is so powerful, and it will leave you a puddle of goop by the end. So I read it in 2016, and the whole time I was reading it, I was reading in my head. So this is between Achilles and Patroclus.
Thank you.
But
I was like, man, I hope he says it. I don't want to be the first one to say it.
So that is the correct pronunciation. In my head, because I had never heard the name, I read the entire book as Patroclus, which I think sounds better than Patroclus, but fine, I get it. I don't speak Greek. Yeah, so it is Patroclus. Yeah.
Great. So I was gonna I should read the summary.
Oh, right.
I didn't read that yet. The summary of this fic. Quote, he is not granted everlasting life. He is not even given the assurance of a happy mortal one. But it will be this, the immortal promises him, dropping his plea into the hands of the fates like a drop of water, rippling through a pool, always, again and again and again, end quote. Patroclus?
Yeah.
Patroclus? The two of them, reincarnation road trip AU, modern day, set in the western United States. Now, before you just give that very heartwarming, soul-bearing intro, I was going to be a sassafras and pretend that I didn't like this fic. But now, that feels bitchy.
Have you ever heard of diffusing the situation before it happens?
Yep.
That's exactly what I was like, here we go, let me just get these clippers and just...
I was like, I'm going to pivot real hard. Because this fic was incredible.
Oh, I'm so glad you liked it.
This fic was delightful. It was so well written. It's so good. It's almost kind of hard to describe it because, like you were saying in your sort of intro, it's written in this very poetic, lyrical style of writing that I'm guessing is evocative of the book.
So evocative. I was stunned when I read this. I was like, is this Madeline Miller? Did she write fan fiction?
Maybe. So... yeah, I mean, the basic story, I don't even feel like I have to go step by step through it, and I kind of don't want to, because I kind of want people to go and read this and, like, experience it the way that you are kind of supposed to experience it, which is in this very lyrical, very ephemeral almost, like, story. But the basic gist of it is it's a modern setting, AU. There's like a prologue, which is very Greek tragedy kind of thing. Oh, also one note, I also don't know jack shit about Greek mythology because I was an ancient Egypt kid.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I feel
that.
like a lot of kids kind of pick their thing that they like really hyperfixate on as a little one. Mine was like writing in hieroglyphs.
Yes.
And pretending to be ancient Egyptian. Yeah, I was really into ancient Egypt. And then, so like Mary, my best friend in the world, Mary, super into mythology, never wrote in hieroglyphs. So she would know this stuff. I have no clue what's happening. None. No idea. But I do know theater, and theater, Greek.
Oh, yeah.
In the Western canon, Greek is like the foundation of theater in terms of like our very limited understanding of like European theater. So there's a prologue is what I mean to say. And that prologue is the kind of what was in that summary. And it sort of introduces the Greek era, just sort of the overview of the story that you're about to experience. That there are two boys, like there's an immortal, it's hard to describe this. Basically it's saying that this is like, it's setting it up and this is going to be a story for the ages. And then it skips ahead in chapter 2 to 2006. And that's where the story that we experience lives, is in the early, like mid 2000s-ish. And it's from Patroclus's point of view. And he's 17 and he runs away from home because his home life is bad. And he ends up on the road and he's hitchhiking and he runs out of money and it's just a bad situation. He is helped briefly by Briseis. Oh man, that was a really good guess. Briseis. Yep.
It's like Brie says.
Not Braces?
Nope.
Brandeis University? Anyway, he's helped along the way a couple of times by some people, but like he is pretty emotionally damaged from a car accident that he was in where another person, like a boy, died in that accident, and he like bears the trauma of that for feeling like he caused his death, and it's part of the reason he left home. So he's very triggered. He's going through a lot. And eventually, he connects with Achilles. And Achilles is on the road and traveling to Tahoe. And he's like, all right, get in the car. We're going. He basically scoops him up when things are, like, at their worst. Like, Patroclus is at the point where he's out of money. He's, like, under a bridge. It's raining. It's bad news bears. And Achilles is like, get in the car before you freeze to death. And they go on this journey together through the sort of the sort of, like, deserts of the western western United States.
Yeah.
Oh boy. And they fall in love. I mean, that's what happens, is like there's all of these sort of like moments. It's a lot of very tender and evocative moments of like internal narration on Patroclus's part about all sorts of like experiences, and just you get the sense that like this is so much more than just like I happened across this dude and he's attractive and now we're camping. There's something else going on here. And over the course of the story, it unfolds that like, yes, this is a reincarnation fic. Like they have lived these lives before. This is the reincarnated existence of these two characters from previous lives. And there's a twist that I guess if you're familiar with the book, it's not that much of a twist, but they kind of start to really be open about the fact that they are interested in each other. They like kiss, they like do the whole thing. And it comes to light that Achilles is enlisted to go to Afghanistan, and that really shatters things. And that, I think, comes from it's sort of a reincarnation of the fact that, like, in the original, I guess they're torn apart by war.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is the interpretation of this. And it's left on sort of, like, an ambiguous ending about how that's going to go. And I don't think I can do this story justice by describing it any further than that. It's profoundly beautiful. It's really well written. It makes me want to go back and read the source material if that's what this is like. Please
do. Oh my god.
And it's just stunningly well done, and I highly recommend it.
Yay. Yeah. There are moments toward the end where kind of the whole time Patroclus, because we have his we're in his head the whole time, is having moments of, for lack of a better word, deja vu, where he like feels like, oh, I know this man, I know Achilles, and I can't tell why. And close to the end of the fic where they have kissed and done stuff, it kind of unlocks for him where he remembers all the times. And there are times that we like, because in the Song of Achilles we have literally just the the Trojan War version of it, and this fic expands on that and puts them in like the French Revolution and like different periods in time, and like gives stories to those reincarnations that I loved. It was so good, so well done. Also, so when we decided on AUs, Soulmate AUs, I very much in my head I was like, okay, Aaron's doing the Magicians, and I know I have to do the Song of Achilles. I know, like, I haven't read a single fic from Song of Achilles yet, because I was like, I need to wait for the right tag, and like, here it is, and I was like, here we go. And I started reading, and this was probably the first full fic I read, because I started a few others, and I was like, not really the vibe. And I was like, I'm so excited to read some fan fiction, because it's gonna leave me, like, it's gonna be happy endings, and it's gonna be great, and like we're gonna get some like closure on the book.
What a fool thou art.
I was a fool. I cried so much at the end, not as much as the Song of Achilles, but it is so good, and the ending is stunning. I was out of breath, just like, it took my breath away, the ending. For anyone who's read the book and who loves it as much as I do, I definitely recommend it just for the ending, because I think the ending gives closure in a way that is very realistic and beautiful, and I loved it, obviously, because I sent it to you, but I'm so excited to finally talk about them and to like get some representation.
Yeah, no, for sure. I really wish I had the context of the book behind me, so that way we could give it the credit it deserves, so that I could speak to how incredible it is. But speaking only to the merits of the fic, I mean, I have been taking notes pretty steadily this season, and this time I just like couldn't take notes. I just had to read it. Like, I just had to be in it, you know what I mean? And what I wrote was that it's extremely ephemeral and deeply romantic with a capital R, in a way that fic often doesn't achieve. And it's funny because in a lot of ways, their romance happens very quickly. Like, he basically picks Muff off the side of the road, and if you have any common sense, you're like, this is bad news bears. But it's just so natural, like, it unfolds so naturally that you, without feeling like forced, that you believe that these people are soulmates. You believe that they are connected somehow, and that's why they are so comfortable with each other. Because there's also some hesitancy early on in their relationship, like they're still kind of like stuttering, but it's so clear that there's a connection through the way that they're interacting with each other and the things that they do, and like the internal monologue, like narration that we get of Patroclus. Like, it's just so, it straddles that line just right where you like, you buy in that this is what this is, like that this is legit, and that you're not really waiting for the other shoe to drop, which I think is kind of what sometimes like road trippy, like I met a stranger on the road things can turn into. It's like you're kind of always waiting for something really bad to happen. Yeah. And in this case, it wasn't that like some external force came in or anything like that. It was like, no, the story played out, and that's where the drama comes from, and that is so good, and it was so well done, and I was here for it. I did finish it about 3 hours ago. But it also reads very smoothly, and it like, it feels very well crafted. Like, it feels like a fic that is written in a style. Yeah. There's an intention behind that style that suits the grandeur of the story. Like, if you just wrote this and like, and then Patroclus walked down the street, like, it wouldn't carry the same weight, because this is meant to be something of an epic, even though it's short. Like, it's supposed to have that feeling, and I think this achieves it. Like, I think it gives you that sense of like you're reading poetry, but in the sense of like the Iliad or the Odyssey or something like that, where it's a lyric poem kind of situation, but it's also like storytelling in that way. Yeah. So yeah, I loved it.
I'm so glad.
I have no complaints.
I also had there something that the author does, because it's a road trip fic as well. There's a mix CD that Achilles has, and it's the only CD he listens to. Same like 15 songs on repeat, and he always skips the last one, and you just don't know why until it's revealed, and you're like, oh, that's wow. But I love a good a fic where music is incorporated, and they tell you the song, because I have my Google Home, and now I can just be like, yo, play this song, and it plays as you read the parts, and you're like, you're there, and it's so good. And with this fic, it was so good. Yep. I loved it.
The incorporation of also the time frame that it was in, I think, was also really well done. Yeah. It being set sort of in the middle of the conflict in the Middle East, and there was a really interesting author's note too, where the author chose to explain like why they chose to put in this setting and like what the surge was for anybody who isn't familiar, like wasn't sort of like cognizant of what that was in terms of like, you know, the time in which America started, like the US basically started just funneling more and more troops over to Afghanistan, even though it was a terrible idea. And that sort of like threat of war exists in a very tangible way for anybody who was kind of aware during those times. So that context I thought was a really good and interesting way of translating a Trojan War tragedy into a context that we can kind of viscerally understand because we lived through it. Like we kind of know why they're freaking out about Achilles having enlisted. Like we get it. We get the threat in a way that like I think sometimes when you're talking about historical things, it's not quite so visceral. Like you don't quite sit there and be like, no, like I know people who went through that. Like yeah.
Agreed.
So yeah.
All right. Well, what do you rate it?
Merry Christmas, Alan. This is a 5.
Yes! It's happened! It's a Christmas miracle!
And I'm not just saying it because it's Christmas. I'm saying it because I believe it, but also God. Merry Christmas.
It's happened.
It has happened.
All right. This has been a good experience, everyone. Thank you so much. I don't know who Aaron's going to get to replace me, but I'm out. This is it. Mic drop. Good. See ya.
Yep. Gotta go.
Oh.
Bye.
I'm so glad.
Yep.
It means a lot, especially when it's like, this is my Quellia, and I'm so happy.
Yep.
Oh, yay.
Yep.
Well, friends, Romans, countrymen. I don't know of a better way to end a show than with Baby's first 5. End of season 2. We have made it. It's here.
We have made it. It happened.
Oh man.
And here we are.
Well, before we say goodbye, I want to, say thank you to everyone who listens and who interacts with us on Twitter. We had a Zoom hangout with a couple of wonderful folks who came out and played a really fun game, and I am so thankful for all of you, and I'm also thankful for you, Aaron. You are really the heart of the show. Thanks for being my co-host.
I'm gonna cry. I love you, Alan. And I love our friends.
Yes.
And I love our podcast. And it's just such a good little thing. I don't care if there's 5 people who listen. I love you 5 people very much.
You are the reason we
and
do
that
this
sounded sarcastic, but I genuinely mean that.
I think the more we do it, the more I fall in love with it, which I mean, I love doing it from the beginning, but we are learning so much more about, I think, ourselves even, just like through the context of fan fiction. It's wonderful.
Agreed. And I think the more we do this and the more we build up our little like corner of the internet, the more it feels like a conversation that we're having sort of just across. And it's not just us sitting around being like, look at this thing, but like an actual, like what we intended this podcast to be, which was a real celebration of this thing that we love in community with others. So I know we said at the top of this that we weren't going to like say what we want out of 2021, and I'm not doing that. Don't at me. But I definitely hope that as we move forward into the year that shall not be named, the Fic List community continues to grow, and we keep on sharing this love with each other, and like we stay in contact, and we just share this joy with each other because goddamn, we need some joy, right? And like this gives it. So yeah, thank you to everybody who's like given us the opportunity to turn this like dumb little idea we had in Angel's living room into this really cool thing.
Yeah. Aaron, if people want to interact with us, where can they find us?
So you should go to Twitter if you want to talk to me. But you should go to Tumblr if you want to talk to Caitlin.
Caitlin, you're the best.
We love Caitlin. Also, speaking of Christmas gifts, Caitlin now runs the Fic List Tumblr, which I announced on Twitter a couple of times, but I'm reiterating now that we are at the last episode for a little while. Caitlin is a gift.
We do not deserve you.
We don't, honestly. She set up a queue. I don't know how to do that on Tumblr, friends. I've been on Tumblr since I was 13. Do you think I know how to set up a queue? Absolutely not. I blocked my first tag 2 weeks ago. So it was supernatural. Don't at me. Incredible. So anyway, so we are at Twitter at Fic List. We are on Tumblr at theficlistpodcast.tumblr.com. Go love Caitlin because she's the best and deserves it. We're technically on Facebook, but don't go to Facebook. We're on Instagram if you want the occasional little snippet video. We are technically on TikTok. Maybe during the break we'll actually attempt to do TikTok-y things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll do some trends.
Maybe. Who knows? In terms of listening to us, I think you should all go back, at least from the beginning of this season, and listen to us all the way through again. Or maybe for the first time, if you've just been skipping around, which I think would be a fair thing, on Spotify and iTunes and SoundCloud and what's the other one? Stitcher.
Mm-hmm.
We were on Podbean for a hot minute, but I think it's gone now. I think it was one of those free trial situations, and I think I let it expire.
Fair.
So we might not be on Podbean. Sorry, friends. But
sorry for any Podbean friends.
yeah, sorry. Yeah, but pretty much anywhere that like major podcasts get like, or like podcasts in general just get like taken from the feed, that's where we are. Yeah, but definitely. And then for all business inquiries, Hale Appleman or Arjun Gupta or Sahab Marbishal or really anybody, Madeline Miller, I mean really anyone,
Madeline Miller, please come on the show.
100% looking forward to season 3, and we want to have guests.
Yes.
We want to read more of your recommendations more consistently. Like we want to do all sorts of stuff for season 3. So if you have business inquiries, please direct them to theficlist@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to send us fan recs because, hey, season 3 is coming. And, yeah, until then, friends, we love you. Happy holidays, and we'll talk to you later.
Spread some joy.
Honestly, read some fan fiction and have a good time.
Yes. All right, everyone.
Okay.
Later.
Bye. We can't end like that.
We just did.
Okay, we just did. Okay, bye.